that will cut a lot of the time and waiting and frustration out of their lives to make sure they can get access to broadband. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Ria Bond.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm feeling somewhat a little bit sorry for you this afternoon because you're going to hear a lot of repetition through this side of the House today. I want to reiterate the fact that the Commerce Select Committee did in fact work really hard. We had quite a big look actually into how our current situation out there in our rural and our urban area struggle with issues that this bill presented to the House in the first reading actually was looking at changing, Mr Chair. One of the biggest things I think that we're all going to say this actually is at some stage today is I was quite surprised but not actually surprised at the same time that this supplementary order paper arrived in my hot little hands at 10:30 this morning. So I've gone through this and looked at all the amended changes in through the supplementary order paper, and I do want to congratulate the Minister and this government on making those changes. I want to add though, Mr Chair, that what I was quite, what's the word I can use, curious about in terms of New Zealand First was the fact that the note on the back of the supplementary order paper states from MB that it's not necessary for a departmental disclosure statement and that's actually not required. So I wanted to ask why is that? Because this bill, yes, fixes glitches in technical areas and improves the drafting, but it has a massive change in Clause 10, Mr Chair, which is significant and addresses a lot of the issues that our submitters spoke to us about when we held one round of submissions and then went back again to check ourselves to make sure that we were making good choices in round two of the submissions that Claire Curran's actually spoken to about earlier. So I was quite surprised by that, and I wondered if the Minister could answer that question. Why is it that MB have actually said that there's no need for a departmental disclosure statement? Now, Mr Chair, like other former members, we've also spoken about the units that are individually owned and the issue of complexity when it comes to owners wanting to have ultra-fast broadband and also fibre. And quite rightfully so, this consent process, it has dragged its feet quite significantly, and it's good that this bill actually addresses that. And the minority of people in that situation do not hold the power over the majority that tend to miss out on good core services that they would like to have access to. One of the areas I do want to talk about as well, Mr Chair, is that this bill significantly will actually close the digital division between the urban and our rural areas. And I think that that is absolutely significant in the sense that this bill will bring an enormous benefit to telecommunications, the connectivity in rural New Zealand, and it also allows for the UFB services to reach our rural community. And these are our farms, and these are actually, it's important because the technical ability to have enhanced wireless services will actually pay benefit to our farming community. And the Rural Women New Zealand actually put a submission forward saying that they would require an enabler for them to have access to this. And we looked at this further and the issues that actually also spun out of this. And Mr Chair, I want to also add that for Southland, we have issues with trying to attract a young workforce for our rural area and on our farms. And I think we're sitting in about the percentage-wise of 24% of Southland struggle to actually fulfil employment areas for employees. And some of the feedback from mums and dads that submitted was the fact that the young ones were going out to apply for a position on a farm, but they kind of walked away really quickly, Mr Chair, because there was no connectivity, there was no ability for them to live after hours and have a bit of social life through social media, and that was a major detraction. So I see that the supplementary order paper and the significant changes in the input that opposition put into this bill has been, for us anyway, Mr Chair, quite rewarding, and we're quite thankful that this bill is fit for purpose, that this bill has been vigorously scrutinised, and we're very happy, Mr Chair, with all the amended changes in the supplementary order paper. Thank you.
I call Peter Sua William Seal.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Look,